Folks, welcome back to the Happy Podcast. My name is Darry Gibbs. I'm the Happy Coach, and today I'm joined by David Roche. David is the owner of Roche Injury Clinic, who are based in Kilkenny. David is an absolutely incredible physio, incredible man. He's a half-caste ginger, wannabe ginger, whatever you want to call him. And his rehab clinic was awarded in 2019 the best clinic in Ireland. So David has a wealth of knowledge. He's an amazing physio. He's after working with Irish football team, countless Olympic athletes, and the general population too. So I'm delighted to get him onto the podcast here to actually just question him, to get some knowledge for myself, some knowledge for you, the viewers, and obviously to help just myself and himself out. And before I actually get into questioning, folks, if you could take a screenshot of the podcast on YouTube or iTunes, wherever you listen to it, or YouTube, and put it on your story or your Instagram or Facebook, for example, and tag myself and David in it, and let us know what you think of it. Like, what was the 1 point or 2 points from the podcast that you're like, yeah, that's after hitting me perfectly there. But David, thanks so much for coming on the podcast, buddy. I appreciate it.
No, brilliant. Thanks for having me there. I love it. It's great. It's nice to see someone, as I mentioned on my Instagram, building this, having a great platform and like educating people on mental health. And I love the title, the happy coach. Like, so, it's great. I'm really happy to be on. Thanks for having me on.
Happy days.
We'll try to shed some light on the fitness and health areas.
Yeah, perfect. But yeah, for myself and David know each other just over a year now. I went to David with a horrendous knee injury after I ran a marathon with one leg, and that's how we kind of got to know each other, basically. And the first thing I took from him was, geez, he's a very energetic, happy person. And I think that's so important when you're in the line of service with people. And is what, like, in my opinion, is a big reason why he's such a good physio. But and obviously he's probably the smartest person I've ever spoken to in terms of health and well-being. So
I don't know.
And maybe I don't know that many people. That's maybe it.
Yeah, this must be a small circle.
But we'll crack into it, David.
Yeah, please.
With obviously your line of work and my line of work, one thing I notice is, like, obviously sport and personal training, etc. People lack mobility. And for me, a long time, it came down to a lack of knowledge, first of all, and just wasn't educated on it. Somebody who has bad mobility, what should they be doing to improve it? So say, like, good habits, routines, etc.
Yeah, there's a load of stuff you can look at there, and there's lots and lots of science out there as well, I think, Darren, as well. Mobility obviously is quite linked to injury. So we look at things like stiffness of the upper limb, stiffness of the lower limb, a lack of mobility around the torso, what we would call the pillar these days. It's all changing from core now to pillar and the role there. But if you haven't got the full range of motion in the joint, the chances are you're probably going to start shifting the weight elsewhere, the load elsewhere. And if that structure isn't what it should be, what will happen then is that place, that injury, or that site will be overloaded, leading to an injury. And I guess there is a cool little graph I often look at when we look at the ankles, the knees, the hips, the lower back, the thoracic, the shoulder, the neck. And each one of those either are defined by or need mobility, stability. And it's a funny little graph as it goes down. But it's important then again, obviously, when you look at injury prevention, I guess, and I think the number one indicator across any injury you'll ever meet, the number one indicator for injury is past injury in that area. So what I'm trying to say there, I guess, is that your rehab process from any injury you have, is really, really important. And there's obviously a thing, I think, maybe in things like GA and stuff as well, where I had a light pull there on my hamstring on Tuesday night. I'll try it on Friday night. There's no real return to play protocols. Return to performance protocols. For example, if let's say, for example, for argument's sake, we keep it quite basic, but if you strain your hamstring on Tuesday night, the chances are there's a disruption of fibers in that area. Disruption of fibers means that they're not pulling in the one direction. Not pulling in the one direction means that you're lacking power, and you'll probably do a maximal sprint. The chance of re-injury is probably quite high in that respect.
Yeah, okay, I got you. That makes sense.
So mobility is hugely important, and I suppose it's really important, Dara. I think a lot more has been made of it these days. There's subtle differences between mobility and flexibility.
Yeah.
In layman's terms, I guess, flexibility is the length that a muscle can change to, and mobility is the degrees of a joint degrees of angle that joint can actually achieve without disruption. So they're two massively important things. And if you think about, let's say, maybe knee joint mobility for a second, there's a lot of muscles act on the knee, like the hamstring, the three different hamstrings, muscles behind the knee, popliteus, for example, behind the knee. And then obviously things like plantaris from below the knee joint, things like plantaris, two gastroc heads, all these different muscles buried deep in there. Like they're all acting on a joint. So if they're stiff and not flexible, it's going to affect the mobility of a joint, isn't it? So it's funny. I tell you that I'd often kind of explain to my patients or any athletes that will come see us, I'd often explain to them it's important to have mobility, flexibility, but it's also really, really important to be strong in the outer ranges. I'll often use, for example, maybe a water bottle as a scenario, and I'll say to them, for example, hold your water bottle in here, and you're under no pressure. There is zero pressure, hold it there all day probably, and then I'll say to them, that's perfect, okay, now you hold the bottle out here now. And what happens straight away now is you start to feel tension in the biceps, start to feel tension in the shoulder, maybe a little bit in the pec, which is a synergistic muscle. Nothing has changed, Dara. The water's still the same with the water in it. I'm still the same person. Gravity is still the same. But what's happened now is you've gone from an inner range of motion to an outer range of motion. And then if you apply that to your hamstring again, like we spoke about, if your hamstring isn't, when you heel strike, you heel strike in your running phase, and you're not strong in the outer range of motion, or you have a disruption of fibers higher up, which aren't pulling the same or as strong as you used to be. What happens now is you're incredibly likely to have a hamstring strain straight away. So it's a fine tapestry, isn't it? It really, really is.
And on that then, what would be, so say just, because obviously you deal with a lot of athletes in a range of sport, what would you find that would be a common injury for athletes?
Yeah, well, I suppose athlete population is usually things like hamstrings, usually things like quads, calves are good, but depending again, field-based sports, I find an awful lot of hamstrings, etc. And again, it's important to understand here that the hamstring itself predominantly moves in what we would call sagittal plane of motion, so straight forward lines. And then when a field athlete is forced to rotate and change direction, the knee joint itself has to be able to load and able to deal with that kind of degree of change of direction, shall we say. And the different hamstrings that attach on different sides, they have to be able to facilitate that movement as well. So you will see that hamstring strains in field-based sports. In runners, in road runners and stuff like that, you'll see things like maybe a calf injuries where there's not enough mobility in the calf, there's not enough mobility in the ankle joint, I should say, more to the point, because that's a really, really strong lever. It's a really, really strong lever around the ankle. And again, previous injury here, if you have an injury with your ankle and you don't really rehab it properly, the range of motion has gone out of that joint. If the range of motion out of that joint, the calf will suffer. And there's a fine tapestry of things there as well, because the ankle itself is what we would call a third-class lever, a very, very strong lever. And I'll even challenge you to do it yourself, Dara. I'm sure you could maybe bicep curl 20 kg, for example, and you'd probably do maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 and really feel it. But I promise you, if you weigh at about 90 kg or whatever, no matter what it is, I won't say what I weigh, you weigh around that, right? But I'm sure I could pop up right now and I could bang out maybe 10 calf raises, simple. Because it's such a strong joint. And that's really important in rehab, in that phase of rehab. But you get me? So there are common things you'd see then again. And I suppose in the general population, it has to be back pain. Back pain is the devil.
I say so,
and neck pain. And back pain and neck pain are predominantly driven by posture. So people slouching in their seat. I'm a devil for actually when I'm sitting in this chair, when I'm doing consultations online and stuff, it's kind of leaning forward and adopting a situation where you're not very, very comfortable. And to be honest with you, I'm always trying to do my best if I can for people, and I'm really involved in the process. You've seen, I'm like a little bit. When I'm at this phone all day long, it's up on a tripod here. I'm leaning forward, trying to get to know somebody really. After 8 patients, 9 patients, 10 patients, my back is sore, but I'm so involved. And that's kind of the link, I think, with mental health a little bit as well. That's the link with, am I a little bit anxious chatting to someone? Am I trying to get across? Am I nervous? Am I, all these things that I want to get across to someone. How do I get my passion across a phone or a video call, isn't it? So posture is a huge thing. And then, to be fair, I think we're going to see a bit of an upsurge in the next, I'm starting to see a little bit of it now already, in the next 5 to 10 years in neck stuff with kids looking down their phones and like Xing and stuff like that as well.
100%, man.
That's a huge thing, is just posture down here. And even kids all day long, they're in school. Well, used to be in school.
Yeah, but majority of the time anyway.
And they're like this all day long, hopefully. And then when they go home, or as you said, on lunchtime, they're looking at their phone at lunchtime. Go home. They're not watching Coronation Street with Ma'am. They're probably on their phone a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a real divot. So posture related stuff for the general public, and then overuse sharp, short bursts of energy / muscle players are usually with the sporting population.
Yeah, that's interesting actually that, because I don't really do as much anymore in terms of my first business where I coach kids.
Yeah.
But like I could have a kid, say a brand new kid, and he or she could be say 8 or 9, and literally I could tell by them training that their mobility is horrendous, and they're that young. You know, like I'm getting kids coming in 11 or 12. Like I have to tell their parents, so you're gonna have to start showing your son or daughter some exercise. Like they're gonna properly injure themselves. And like I say, I'd be chatting to him or like whatever, and he's just like, he's just sitting down all day playing PlayStation, for example. I was like, yeah, well, like no wonder his neck and back are so injured. But I think like in terms, like obviously that's a mindset thing as well, because you're probably not self-aware that's what's going on, I suppose.
True, yeah.
And like a big part of, like when you say, for example, give me stuff to do, I take responsibility, right? I need to do this because I know it's going to better me. But a few people might just go, I can't be arsed doing this. Like, where do you see the correlation between people not, like, you know, an athlete here, if you do this rehab, you'll be fixed, and they're like, fuck it, I can't be arsed. Where's kind of correlation between like goal setting and that, basically? Like you see who are driven people do it, or what's this, like, where did you find that from your experience?
For sure, yeah, that's really interesting. I think I mentioned it recently. I was to give a guest lecture in the UK, and I was literally mentioning, a guy asked me, how do I know how good the athletes are? But sometimes what happens is, like, you know, people will come in unannounced to the clinic and they won't give me any background on what their sport population was. It could be a multidisciplinary champion of some description, but I'll always know straight away whether it's like an 80-year-old woman or it's like a 15-year-old world champion or whatever it is. Like, I'll understand the level that they're at straight away just by how tedious and how much they apply themselves to their rehab. Because it's a massive thing. And I often see athletes here as well. You know, athletes will be here, and what they'll do is, like, if you told them to walk up and down this aisle, you know, 100 times to be fixed, they'll do it. They'll absolutely do it. Like, you know, so it's that can be good and bad, because what they'll do is they'll probably go things to the umpteenth, or maybe I'll walk it 200 times, you know, and that's something because through my assessments and through my objectives and stuff like that, I've probably come to the conclusion of what I know they're doing, what I want them doing, and how I can get them doing more safely. And, you know, there's a really cool graph, and I'm probably going to release a graph there this evening as well on my Instagram page, about like acute and chronic trainings versus probability of injury. And you'll see there's a spot, a sweet spot, and a plastic region. The plastic region is where you don't want to be. That's when you get re-injury, overload. And, you know, as my job and what I do take a lot of pride in, I guess, is finding that sweet spot where stimulating you, whether it's fitness, whether it's performance, whether it's injury rehab, they're all very, very linked anyway. Finding that sweet spot, Dara, is what you really want to be doing. Like, you know, when you have someone in here, regardless of the age or the population, fitness levels, you know, that sort of way. Definitely the big indicator for me is how tedious they are to their rehab. And I know for a fact, as a devil, and I'd probably be one of my own worst patients when I'm injured, for example. But some people kind of want you to just fix them, rock in, fix them. And that's why I often say to people when I bring them in straight away, I'll make them accountable. I'll say, look, listen, you're accountable, I'm accountable, let's do this together and let's crack on. Because some people can get a little bit attached to you as far as the feel-good prospect of the treatment. And I even say to them, my first session, I'm already trying to wean you off me. I'm already trying to make you accountable. I'm probably going to talk the ear off you a little bit because I want to educate. And when you educate, people think that's a bad idea, because business-wise, I don't think it's a bad idea, because, like, I know if an injury happens again, they'll try to do their understand or what they understand of the condition. If that doesn't work, they'll come back to me. And chances are, Dara, like, you know, if you've educated them correctly, they're going to leave the clinic with a really good idea on what happened, and probably will recommend you to somebody else anyway. Do you know, that sort of way? So it's important that we educate as well, you know? Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. Like, people in our line of work should be educating people as much as possible. Obviously, you want to make money and have a successful business, and be proud of yourself, but you should be, if you have knowledge, you should educate yourself. That's how I just view things, because if you can educate somebody, they can educate somebody, then you have a lot of healthier people, basically. But I think people, like, one of the first things I noticed from you when I had our first session, you're like you're going to be gone soon, basically. And I was like, all right. Like, it was the first thing I took. It's like, geez, I've never been told that from a physio ever. Just got a roll here or there. It's like, look, like, you're not coming back in a couple of weeks. And I think maybe that's the difference in maybe yourself and other, say, healthcare professions or whatever that. You're like, priorities, like, look after yourself, like, you do this and then you'll be sorted. And if you need to come back, which is normal, like, everyone's going to get injured at some stage anyway. Like,
for sure.
If you're an active person, like, you're going to hurt yourself at some stage, like.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I think I do like to see the greatest compliment you can actually get as a physio. I think is not just, and I don't like the idea that I fix people, because mark my words, my friend, right? Mark my words. We as physios, we don't fix people. We facilitate the fixing. If someone's saying to fix you, you probably should walk off out there, because they're just, maybe it's a bit narcissistic or whatever. But we don't really fix people per se. But the greatest compliment you can actually get is, oh Jesus, like Jimmy down the street said that you went to and you fixed him and he hasn't had to see you again. Or even furthermore, a year later, someone comes back to you with a different injury and it's like, oh Jesus, my back is brilliant, but my leg is a bit sore. You've built up a rapport. You built up a trust. I like that idea a little bit. But as you said there, really rightly so, Darren. Like if you're active and if you're doing stuff, you want to live your life to the fullest. You know, you don't want to just live your life. You want to have fun. You want to go excite yourself, and your body, like, you know, and it's all really cool. That's all really cool quote there online. It's your exercise should be a celebration of what your body can do. It shouldn't be punishment. You know, people who punish themselves when exercise, you're on the wrong road there. Like, and hey, we've all been there. You know, when you're not fit, it's not easy. When you're panting and when you're puffing, it's not easy. But exercise should absolutely be, you know, a celebration of your body and not punishment. Because if you start linking punishment to exercise down the line, my friend, you're in trouble, and you'll know more of that than me, you know.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting, because people can already get like a relationship with that with food as well. Because what I do with personal training and like train women and stuff for that, I find that because like that's more common denominator with my line of work. But you know, people who like, I know people who are like, I miss training, so I train twice as hard now 2 days later, and like, they're probably going to damage their body because of it. They're not up to full capacity for a game. What causes people to be like that from your experience, I suppose?
Yeah, that's a few things there too. And if I can be brash for a second, that's you, like, usually as you'll know here, and as some of your mates will know who've come to me from tip and stuff and further, like part of your job as a physio, like, as well, and a performance coach, is to kind of re-educate the body, take away that fearful movement from them as well. So before I sign somebody off, I'll make sure I've seen them do everything that they're going to do. And I'll often say in a session, look, don't come back to see me for 2 weeks now. By the time I see you next, be doing everything you want to do. If not, we'll problem solve from there. So you need to be able to go along and say, like, I'm not going to send in a GA footballer back to football or hurling or whatever it is without having some sort of multi-directional or transverse plane of motion exercise. And that's going to sprint and say you're grand, because as soon as he tries to turn that direction, his body has to write that program again. It's fearful. It's that small delay in the synapses of the muscle and the neurological system firing together. It's that small delay that will get him injured, you know. And you have to be very, very respectful that if you're not moving in the correct way or been at least expose yourself to that, you're in trouble. So the problem there, I think, there is the rehab plan is just a fraction off, you know. That's you know.
And would you, that's actually really interesting. And with rehab plans, like, when you're trying to, what kind of people would you notice? Like, would you notice somebody say who might have a bad mindset that will be weak at doing a rehab plan, or just won't care, or like, what way does that kind of work with you? Because I kind of notice that with my clients, the ones who are, their mindset is good, they will achieve what they want. But the ones who kind of have a bit limiting beliefs with themselves or don't value themselves highly, they're like, there can't be honest, I'm not worth doing it. Like, what's the point of me getting back and all that kind of stuff? Would you find that with a lot of your clients?
And this is something that you don't learn in college too. And I think you're actually a lot better. I think you're a lot better at it than you think you are as well. And you can have to be in the physio game and coaching game as well, because you have to be able, Darren, the skill I'm talking about is you have to be able to judge someone, or I'm going to say, not judge them, excuse me. You have to be able to get a grasp of someone, you know, before they open their mouth, just their demeanor, how they hold themselves, how they look, how they act, how they talk, their tone of voice. And from there, you know, you'll get, I'll let you know a little secret as well. From there, you'll get a good feel of how to approach rehab with them. For example, and I don't really tell patients this, right? But when I prescribe a rehab plan to someone, and I don't really, not that I don't trust them, but I don't really think that they will apply themselves a lot. Unless I'll always say to them, do you know what? You should exercise now 3 or 4 times a day. Because they could be the people who, if you told them, do that once a day, you think you're doing them a favor by saying just once a day. Somebody tells someone to do something once a day. If you go, it's only once, I'm doing twice tomorrow. You can get that of people, and I love to interact with people. And to be honest with you, again, I'm probably top tier of people, but like, I really want to get to know someone. I won't name any names, but you know, I was working with, I was about to work with a GA before this happened, a GA, a really high profile GA, or sorry, I should say a camogie player. And I think I spoke to your offer. I think I spoke to your offer so much. She was thinking, holy God, it's always going to be like this sort of thing. But I got a really good grasp of her and who she was and her goals and her needs and stuff like that in the very, very first session and everything else. So it's important there to understand the person, because if you don't understand the person and where they're at, you're completely setting yourself for disaster there. Like, And then there's a flip side to that there as well. It's the people who are, like, do everything to a T. If you tell them to do it 3 times a day, 4 times a day, they'll do it 5 times a day. So I'll usually tell those people that do that for me twice a day now, and no more, no less. Or if I deal with nurses and healthcare professionals who are on their feet, especially in these times, 24/7, I'll have to take into account the load going through those joints, or what I suspect to be the load going through those joints initially, and then problem solve as I go from there with different load patterns and complex movements and stuff that I need them to achieve.
That's actually, like, I suppose anyone who's listening who's in some sort of field similar to myself, yourself, that's actually really good advice. How did you start getting good? Like, how did you start understanding that? Like, for me, like, I always had street smart just from where I'm from, basically. So you kind of just get a grasp of it. And I like educating myself on body language, communication skills. It's something it's like a little random thing I study, basically, without probably saying it. But how did you kind of get the grasp of it? Like, is it through experience, or did you naturally have it from playing sport, or how to go about it?
It's true experience as well, and it's your ability to handle people as well. And you don't have that when you're a freshman out of college and stuff. And I think there's a fine line there, because sometimes when you try to handle somebody, like, they can become a bit standoffish. You can have people walk in here who are extremely wealthy, and they don't really listen to much things, but you have to kind of make yourself, try to come across in a good and positive way, and that's all about them almost. And I'll often use that line as well, which I picked up along the way. I've seen this injury like 1,000 times, but I'm going to make it about you now, and that's how I'm going to get you better. And that's what I often do. I never prescribe the same. I don't think I've ever prescribed the same rehab for any injury twice. I don't think I've ever have. It's always about that person, So I kind of got good at that through experience, I think. But also, like, I was always really an outgoing person and played sports since I was a kid. Yeah. I think sports are amazing, because, like, and it's not, people don't play sports completely fine. Like, social interactions and forums are brilliant in the same way. Because what sports do, is they make you accountable. They make you talk. They make your voice loud in a large group. Yeah. They teach you discipline for your teammates. They teach you discipline to the manager, to be somewhere on time, to have that fitness level, to understand what it's like to have adrenaline, and then how to deal with adrenaline, not to be hot-headed. There's so much to it. And when I went to England to study, like, genuinely, when I went to England to study, I didn't have any friends. I knew nobody. Didn't know a soul. I genuinely didn't know a soul. And I played football for the uni team over there. And since then, all the guys, you chat with them still. It was great. It's just a really good social type skills. I suppose through that format, through my own format back here in Ireland, and just I like people. Like, to be fair, I like people. And I think sometimes, you're always going to meet naysayers, Darren. I think I've learned that a long time ago. And a good friend of mine, he's a really good physio in England, and he's quite vocal on his social media. And he said to me, Dave, like, there's so many keyboard warriors out there, and there's so many people who don't like people for no reason other than they don't like people. Yeah, and that's something you need to be careful of. And any young aspiring physios and stuff listening, or whatever it is, or athletes, whatever it is, like, never listen to that. It's easy to say, but everybody has their detractors. Like, and I think if you're trying to do something good for people and you're trying to be positive, I think more power to you, sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think one thing I'm in business just over a year now, and the one thing I learned from myself personally is, if you want to do something or achieve something, take advice from somebody who's already after doing it, or that's almost there, if you get me. Not your Auntie Peggy who never ever had a business or ever played sport in her whole life, which a lot of people do get neglect from people like that, and they're like, oh, sure, not worth it, etc. So just be careful on that side of things. Like, you are going to get naysayers, but if it's somebody that's higher up than you that you want to be, maybe listen to them. Like, but if somebody that just having a clue what you're doing, don't bother listening to them.
Well, was it you that done that? Was it you that had that thing on post on Instagram about, like, don't take advice from somebody who hasn't traveled the road you're going to, or something? Was that you for that? That was really, really good, I thought.
Yeah, I threw them. I had up my story, which is so true, because I have my own mentors now, actually, and like absolutely saved me about 5 years on, like, growing my business to, I say, at least a minimum. And when I hear, say, a family member just saying, oh, because the coronavirus, now you're probably going to be down in clients. I'm like, no, you have no idea. Like, you never ran a business. But if I didn't have the mindset I do now, I'd be like, fuck, you could be right, actually. You know what? My business is going to thrive now. Or instead of looking at it like, oh, short-term pain for long-term gain, whatever. Like, you know, you're kind of looking at different viewpoints. But you do if you're careful who you listen to.
To be fair, yeah, you're dead right. I would always try to see a silver lining, to be honest with you. That's just my mentality.
Same, yeah.
I'm actually quite looking forward to having more time with patients, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, traditionally it's 30-minute appointments, or a new patient is 45, etc. I'm looking forward to having more time with patients, to be brutally honest with you. I'm really looking forward to building up the business again. Because, we obviously have quite a high caseload, etc. to have with 5 physios, etc. who are always busy, 4 physios and myself. But, you know, that will take time to come back. But it's a complete leveler now, Darren. I think I'm using this time to kind of really streamline what I want to achieve and write down. And use it as a building block almost. So that's quite interesting. And obviously, I've had a lot of time now as well to do different courses. I've finished the FIFA diplomacy course, football medicine diploma, done pain science degrees online, and I've done a few different things online. So I found it quite beneficial in that respect. Obviously, you know, it's tragic time as far as I hate to see so many families affected by this, and I hate to see so many people worried and scared, and in my family as well, people have respiratory issues too as well. We've been distant for a while, and it's tough on kids, etc. But you know what, right? The way I look at it is now, as far as business is concerned, businesses are going to be there. You just look after yourself, and then the rest of it will come with you, I think, you know.
Yeah. And just on that part then, David, like you said, you're written now and you're kind of planning where you want to go. You're obviously very goal orientated and stuff.
Yeah.
Which you need to be. Like, if you're in business, you have to be goal orientated. Your business is not going to last. That's just a fact, basically.
100%, yeah.
How did you get into goal setting, I suppose? And like, could you kind of elaborate on how you do your goal setting for people? Because I think that's one thing everybody lacks in. Like, so many people lack the goals.
Goal setting is good. Goal setting is a good one, because goal setting applies to everything. Like, you know, it really does. And to be fair, I have ambitions there. Well, I had ambitions for 2021, 2022, and maybe in 2023 and stuff. Now, all I see now is that there is pushed back by a year per se. But I've got really good at goal setting just by simple, realistically, like setting achievable goals is what I would ask for. Now, I don't mean say, oh, I want to treat one person a day. That's not a goal. Like, you know, that's not attractive. Like, you know, and I don't set goals by I want to make that much money by the day. You know, I don't set those kind of goals. The goals I'll set is I want to have a positive experience with every. Now, it's impossible because some people are just different, and that's just a long and short of it. I want to have a positive experience all week long with all these patients, and then I will kind of mark that. I'm really good at, probably, this might sound funny, but like celebrating the mini goals too. I'll often like
it's so essential. That is so fucking essential.
Like, and to be honest with you, I'll often say to people too, we're quite aggressive in the sense that we put up a lot of our stuff online, and we're so lucky to have the patients we do, because they're always interacting with us online. They're always like putting up really good reviews and stuff, and we will share them. We'll always try like block out their names, etc. Because you don't want them, in case they're at another physio whatever. You don't want anyone feeling bad, etc. Whatever that is. But like, if you don't celebrate the mini ones, you're in trouble straight away. Because then if you don't celebrate the mini one, you'll think that goes further away. And when I get there, I'm not even going to celebrate that anyway. So why would I bother my backside? And then I guess like punishment too. Like, never punish yourself if you don't make a goal. Like, you know. But the problem with me, like, and what happens to me on a really, really big week is that I'm setting. This is a negative of me now, is that I set so many goals. Is that it's hard at times to track them all, and then I also set loads of mini goals with all my patients too. So in a day, you're treating 15, 16 patients or whatever you're treating in a day. That's 15, 16 goals a day you're kind of trying to hit as well. And then there's personal goals too, and it gets a bit you can fall down a bit like that as well. But there's no handbook to it. Your goals are your goals. You don't have to tell everybody about them per se. But you know, it's just really, really important to have some sort of realistic mapped out. Like, for example, reintroduction to the clinic. I literally wrote down my reintroduction plan to the clinic on a piece of paper, which is like, you know, my scrapbooks at home there, and it's written out. It's out of my head. It's on a piece of paper now, and I can refer back to it. If my mindset was positive that day, I wrote down in a positive tone what was going on. If I want to reinstigate that positive tone, that positive plan, I'll just reread that, and I'll know by the writing and the way it's written that it's positive. That'll bring me back almost. It's almost like memory almost to me in that respect, like, you know. So I think writing things down and mapping things out are hard. It's difficult too at times, because when there's so many variables, it's hard to put out realistic goals, but they can change and they can move as well, Dara, as you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think what is so important there from what you said is celebrate like little wins. Like when my clients, like, even if it's just half a pound, like I'm like, you have to be fucking happy for that, like, or whatever. If it's people in the happy program and they're after writing their goals for 3 days in a row, celebrate that. That's absolutely incredible. Because it's funny, I had a webinar there on Thursday, and I was literally discussing that goal setting. I didn't get too much detail, but I was saying make sure you're celebrating your small wins, because you start getting momentum. I mean, you're getting good momentum, it's hard to break it. Same when you're in a rut, it's hard to get out of a rut, but if you get into that good momentum, it's hard to get back into the bad rut, if you get me. Like, so important.
Yeah, it's true. And even just a little small window to my life, like, you know, when I started back running there a number of weeks ago, I think I was barely able to get around, you know, a mile without stopping, like, which is not great, like, for someone else. And a mate of mine had started 2 weeks after me. Now I'm up as far as, like, I'm doing 3s and 5s now, and he's there stuck on doing his 1s, and he's like, oh, I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of this. But every time I got to a marker, I would celebrate that little marker. Now I didn't go out and have a bottle of wine, or I didn't like have 2 takeaways in a weekend or anything, but it's just, you know, I made sure that I was marking these things as well. And then now that I can run and looking back and I'm thinking, oh, that's difficult. But the thing is create habit as well. Habits of winning mentality like that, like winning mentality that is all based on habit as well, you know. So and there's a nice little format too as well. But then again, I often encourage people too to do things you like first as well. And I don't mean go in and do biceps all day every day or anything as lads, or do squats all day as girls, etc. Whatever you're into. Like, but I just mean, like, you know, do something that you like and pick a goal. And I often say to people, like, sit down as well. And it's obviously difficult now, but maybe it's getting a little bit less difficult. But, you know, pick a date, pick an anniversary, pick a wedding anniversary, pick a wedding, pick a bank holiday weekend, pick something that you're going to actually aim towards. And have that day. Then you become really accountable, because now you know that, oh gosh, it could take me 6 weeks to lose that weight. If I don't start next weekend, I'm actually in trouble. And then maybe enjoy your week, but also have that momentum in your back of your mind thinking, I'm going to start next week. And then accountable as you go.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like, I think with goal setting as well, you have to be very, very crystal clear. Like we were saying there, right, I have a wedding, okay, I need to lose a stone. Lose stone 6 weeks, yeah, you probably could, like, you know, you can definitely lose stone in 6 weeks, like, so you're clear, right, for my wedding, just for example, 6 weeks time, I need to be down a stone or whatever, half a stone, whatever your goal is. But with goals, then be clear. Like, I even found that with you're like, you know, like, obviously with rehab it's different or whatever, because you know, there's so many common denominators that can come into and influence or whatever. But you're like, with me for a week or two. Now, look, to go off and do your own thing 2 weeks, when you come back, you should be better. So you're kind of right. If I do this rehab in 2 weeks' time, I should be back maybe in a week later then for my running or squatting or whatever. Like, so you can kind of bring it in like that way. But I think it is so important to be clear with your goals, because you can say, oh, I just want to lose weight. You lost half a pound, you technically done it. Or, like you said there, I just want to have a positive experience with one client where, like, or, you know, something on the lines of that, like.
Yeah, for sure. And it's weird. If you just think about it for a second, like, I don't mean to be very airy-fairy, but if you just think about it for a second, if I walked into a room, like, you know, and I had an ankle injury, and someone in that room said to me, David, you know what, right, if you do 1, 2, 3 exercises for me for 2 weeks solid, 2 times a day, and I promise you, that's it. Because we can't hand somebody fitness. We can't hand somebody mental health. We can't hand somebody performance levels. But if you said to them, this is what works, and that's probably why, if I'm being frank and brash with you, that's why people will come to see us from, you know, the States and from Northern Ireland, where they come from, because they know that I don't really mix my words a little bit. If I can fix them, I'll help them, and if something else is needed, that happens too. Like, don't be fooled, Dara. Like, you know, anything that can be fixed, we will sort it out here. Sometimes we will be able to advise people to go and, you know, see, you know, a surgeon who I trust or whatever. And that but as soon as you walk in through my door, you know, the road has started. And that's what they don't get everywhere, I don't think. But if you can tell somebody that in 3 weeks' time, I promise you, all you need to do is do this, this, and this, and let time elapse and do it to the T, you will be better. And that's good, because someone goes, you know what, that's actually a really good goal for me now.
Exactly.
And that's funny, because, and what people don't like, I think, on the flip side of that, is if you walk in, somebody goes, look, we'll chance this now for a couple of weeks and we'll see how we go. And then, you know, you're going to go, right, I'm going to commit 3 or 4 weeks to this guy now. I'm going to pay a bit of money to this guy or this girl or whatever it might be. And they're not really giving me my goal. And again, this comes back to the goal setting point you made. It's really important that somebody has your back like that and you're both accountable. Do you know?
Yeah, that's kind of actually, like, that's really interesting, because, like, what you touched on there is good human connection with your client, that, like, you absolutely, like they trust in you. And I think, like, people just, you know, like, I think now in the lockdown, the lack of connection with people physically, like, I actually need to be connecting with people on a regular basis. And what you're just doing there is you're getting an absolutely amazing relationship built up with your client. So they trust you immediately. They're like, yeah, I actually support him. I think that's the reason why your business is doing so well, because there's more than just like, do this and that. You're connecting with people on a human level, like, and that's where everything kind of starts off, like. But the question, I suppose, on, like, we keep it kind of goal oriented, but I suppose touching on kind of mental health, or say people getting overwhelmed or whatever.
Yeah.
For me, the last kind of 2 years or so has been my happiest, and it's when I started setting goals. Basically, I get addicted to setting goals. Like, I will boom, boom, boom. I love knocking them off, but it's not. I actually don't like achieving a goal. I like the process, which is important. I love the process. Like you're saying there, the 15 clients, I love spending time with them, like whatever. Do you think there's a correlation with people who don't have kind of purpose, or who don't have a direction and will suffer the mental health? Because I suppose, like, you would deal with a ton of people, like a lot more than I would actually, general population, like, so it'd be kind of interesting to get your view on it.
It's a funny one. You just made me think about a patient of mine, a previous patient of mine, who got started out again, thank God, but he had a foot injury, and he was, he works in the trades and he works in the building sites and stuff like that, and he had a foot injury. I won't give too much away about the part of his foot that was injured, just in case or whatever. But basically, the crack was that he would work all day long, and he was completely fine in work, and he had no real pain in work. He'd have the crack of the lads. But when he'd come home, he'd slow down in the evenings and get really sore. And all he used to do was go around the house complaining about his pain, like. And then the wife, and then I know the wife, because the wife's a patient of mine too, and she runs, and I would often look after her whenever she needs to be looked after, etc. And then a couple of kids, etc. And he wasn't able to go do stuff with the kids, and he wasn't able to bring the kids to training. So the poor wife had all this kind of extra work on her, bringing the kids around, did her own life and her work and her running and everything else. And she was sick to her back teeth of him, like, complaining. So she booked him in. And she's like, and then I can't remember, did he not turn up for the first session or something, or did he come in late? I think he came in late or something for the first session. So straight away, I know this guy isn't really interested.
Yeah.
I think those men are devils too, and all the women who are listening or whatever understand that we like a bit of moan in this content, I think, don't we? We like a bit of a moan, to be fair. We always think that everything's for us. But he wasn't accountable for it straight off the bat. I was under accountability into it. And it took me a good couple of sessions with him. He's the kind of person I saw, straight away the week after, just to build up the rapport so I didn't lose him. He was telling him to go off for 2-3 weeks there, or whatever the crack is. He's not going to do the exercises, he'll do the same, and he'll think, sure, I went in to see that, and I'm the exact same as I was now before I saw him.
Yeah.
So your own like name is on the line as well, Darren. Start with. So I would protect our name here jealously, because I want to help people.
Yeah,
and I'd often say to people too, like, when you give us a review, thanks for the review, we won't put your name up because we don't want to name and shame you or the physios you might see in the past. It's to help people understand that there's treatment for that condition. But anyway, so eventually built up a rapport, and it turned out to be a super nice guy, and he had an issue with his foot. We ended up getting it sorted in the end. But it's difficult when people come in like that, when they don't really want to come in the first place.
Yeah.
Kind of, not that they've pushed into it, but they're kind of made come in. But it's you have to kind of turn people into your friends as well, in a sense where they have to see, they might have had a bad experience in the past before, like mental health. You might have had something happen to you, and you're kind of afraid of it. You got burnt before in the past, but I think it's really important, and it's a good trait to have as a coach, and as a happy coach, and as a fitness coach, performance coach, whatever, that you'd be able to turn people like that around. Again, by mini goals setting too as well. You don't really tell them, okay, we're going to set goals for you now. You kind of let them know that this is what needs to be done, and if you want to get back to this, and what's going on in your life, sure, look at a belly, and okay, well, I have an idea for that as well. I can make sure. I used to go walking, but I don't walk anymore. And you'll see an awful lot of it, Dara, in men, between 39 and 46, would be around the number there, who've stopped playing sports now, and who used to rely on sports as stress relief, to keep them fit, to eat what they wanted, to see the lads, to go for pints with the lads. There's 5 massive things that make huge, away. And that can turn to one big problem, and that, Dara, is something that you have to try to say, well, do you know what? Let's get you out on the JJ Ready 5K here in Kilkenny. Brilliant. We'll aim for that. Drag 2 of your friends along. You can go for a pint after that. Out you go there in the evening. You have something to go off every evening to get that nice release of hormones and endorphins in the body. Like a runner's high type thing. That'll make you feel better, and you lose weight. The pain will be relieved from there as well. Now you have a goal, a mini goal. You're going to go from 1K to 2K to 3K. Yeah. And then all of a sudden your wife won't be giving out to you anymore. And then all of a sudden you go the whole thing up. Which might be about you still, I don't know. But it's goal setting again. It's a nice way to drag someone back, isn't it?
Yeah, like the way you described it there is actually very interesting. It's definitely something I'm gonna take for my own even knowledge to use. That's actually a really good way of looking at it. So like guys, the way I finish off the podcast, David, I have about 45 minutes, so I don't want to keep it too much longer. Is there anything that you want to kind of add before, like usually at the end of every podcast, I do a Q&A online and I ask you kind of stupid questions basically. I know, like they're not like what's the word? Like they're just funny, like the stuff and like
lighthearted, yeah.
That's exactly it. Like, is there anything else you want to add before that, or
no,
anything
I feel like we're looking forward now. To be honest, we're looking forward to getting back. And as I said, there'll be announcement tonight now on our I think it's tonight or tomorrow night on our Instagram pages and our Facebook social media pages, etc. But what we are trying to do is two really cool things that we've started. Number one is collaborate with a group called Nutrition Pro Coach as a lead. I'm on their medical apps for nutrition. We're going to mix nutrition and fitness together, and performance and injury prevention together in one app. And the app is really groundbreaking. It's a way for you to have your diet and your performance plan all in one area, strength and conditioning stuff, pre-ab stuff, to bring you from an inflamed state or whatever state you may be in, as far as training and stuff, the whole way through to performance levels and fitness levels. And I'm really excited about it. It's going to launch in the next couple of weeks. And that's something I was working really, really hard on during this lockdown. We haven't done there, thank God. I suppose the other thing I want to try to do is in this time now, as I said to you about chatting more with patients, to get more time with patients, we're not going to bring any more athletes into the country, I think, till Christmas, I think it is now. Yeah. So what it does actually now, would you believe, it opens up the chance for me to work with local athletes a lot more, which I love to do. It's not time. Yeah. So we're going to start opening our performance package. We work with 5 different athletes from around the country who are exceptional athletes. We're going to go open up 5 more places on that. And basically what that is, it's come and work with me every week. You get tested every 6 weeks. You have a 6-week gym program with S&C sessions, priority sessions, and accessory sessions. So you'll be trained like a professional athlete. You have 1 session a week with David in here, and it's going to range. I think the deal we're going to do, I think it's like €399, I think, for the 6-week plan. And then obviously when you do that as well, it might sound like it's a bit dear, but in all that as well, you have obviously support of us. You have free recovery sessions as well in our boots and in our cryo and everything else. It's a massive package, and I'm going to open it up, I think, in the next couple of weeks. That, and alongside, you have to be very, very aware, Dara, and you as well, is that we are in unprecedented times at the moment. For the first time ever, we're going to have a mini in-season, pre-season or something, I think. And I'll mention this in a thing I'm going to launch tonight. So introduction to sport and fitness is going to be quite precarious at the moment. What we're doing now for the next month is, at a really reduced price, is we're taking patients and we're going to give them a return to play, a return to fitness program. Again, it'll be something delivered straight to your phone. It'll take in your goals, your needs, your levels of previous fitness, your previous injury experiences, shall we say, and a general health questionnaire. And all it is, it's there for the reintegration for you back into your 5K runs, your hurling, your soccer. And it's really, really easy. You might not even have to come in and see us, but it's a really good way for me to make sure that people don't get injured going back. They're not left on the shelf when we do go back, and that they can really start to enjoy their sport again. Because the problem is 90% of people are going to go along and go, I ran 5Ks, I can still run 5K and get injured. We're looking to help people reintegrate. So I'm really looking forward to that. There'll be something definitely tonight on our webpage about that.
Happy days, man. That sounds class. Right, I have two questions before we finish up. What's your favorite song, David? What's your favorite song?
What's your favorite song? I change with my
at the moment, I suppose your favorite song at the moment, because you can't have a favorite song, really, can you? Like
favorite song at the moment. I'd always have what's on my playlist at the moment. I do like that one, Roses. That's quite good and upbeat, isn't it? It's that one, that kind of dance one. It's on my gym list there. Do you ever hear of it? No, it's like a really upbeat one, and there's some DJ does it. It's called Roses. I'll check it out. It's quite good.
I think I know the one.
Gets me in the mood for gym and stuff. Yeah.
Happy days. Do you have a quick funny story with a past client? The reason why I'm asking this is like a funny one, because I this happened to me on 2 separate occasions, like during a personal training class.
Right.
Just the class is quiet and it's just someone fired. I just thought it's hilarious. I was wondering, do you mention something similar to that or whatever?
Do I have any? I suppose I don't know if I'll give that away about patients per se, but
or even a story in the clinic, for example, or whatever.
Yeah, there's always funny things going on realistically with different students that will come in and stuff like. And there's a couple of students that come in and they're just. To be honest with you, I'm brutally honest with you. I was like a lot of teenagers and stuff. People in college, you live in your own head a little bit. And you do silly things and stuff like, you know. But there has been situations where we're trying to fill up, you know, the cryo pools or the jacuzzi that we have here, and the students will just like do everything, leave it on, come away for 3 hours, go back. Oh fuck, we put the water on. You know, this kind of stuff like, and it's 4 hours. It's 4 hours later. Your big team coming in tomorrow. And you need to guess what happens is when you fill up the jacuzzi. It's like there's how many thousand liters are in the place.
Yeah.
Heated, like, it heats up a degree an hour, and it goes up to 40 degrees. It's 40 hours almost. Like, do you know?
Yeah,
it takes a while there's been a few good students, and there's been a few funny students knocking through the place. But all of them really, really good. So I can't really give out. I feel like I'd be giving out with some of the places. Tell you.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
But you'd often have people just doing silly exercises, or I taught them to that David 100 times, or you know, 1,000 different things. But you'd see stupid little things like that. Like, but what we're often told about, what we're often asked is, "Oh, give us funny jokes." Or we'd often try to have students say to us, "Oh, give me like a funny joke of a week or whatever it is." And I think the best one I ever had was when I was in England. I asked a student to give me a joke. He goes, "Right, so I'll give you a cheesy joke." He said to me, "What's he said to me? I used to be addicted to hand wash, but I'm clean now." Yeah, so I just thought he was quite funny.
That is fucking gas.
Yeah, I thought it was quite funny.
You did the hand wash, I'm clean now. I'm robbing that, by the way, just let you know.
Absolutely, feel free, my friend. Feel free, absolutely. And I suppose that, definitely. I think, you know, you meet some characters there.
I'd imagine so. David, boy, that is perfect though. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. For everyone listening, if, as I said at the beginning, if you could take a screenshot on your story and just throw it up on Instagram or Facebook and just tag myself and David in it, and obviously David is Roche Injury Clinic on Instagram, but just tag what was in it and just let us know what you think, folks. The podcast will be up in the next couple, well, you hearing this now doesn't make a difference. It'll be up in the next couple of days, basically, David. So it'll be on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, basically any kind of major platform. But
brilliant.
If you just let us know, folks, that'd be fantastic. But I appreciate everyone tuning in, and talk to you later on, guys.